Jargon for Beginners, Part Number 1, Thinking, Feeling, and Willing, and Head, Heart, and Hands. This concept refers to the inclusive and encompassing nature of Waldorf education. It refers to the multidisciplinary teaching methods used to balance academics with the arts, social-emotional learning, physical work, and community building. It is based on the principle of all living things, including systems, ebb and flow through constant transformation. The idea is that having a broad-based tool set develops flexible thinking and thereby creating greater ease in navigating daily activities, including creative cognition and relationships. Thinking equals head, feeling equals heart, willing equals hands/action. Concepts that are related to this topic that come up include whole child, as in head, heart, and hands. Educating the whole child refers to an eclectic and multidisciplined approach to teaching. Educating in this way also involves protecting the whole child by providing the right material at the right time in the right way. In Waldorf education, we strive to keep in mind the whole lifetime of the child, from birth to death, recognizing that all of us carry experiences with us throughout our lifetimes, and that both traumas and fortifying events create lasting effects, mentally, physically, and interpersonally. Whole child versus whole language. There is often confusion with these terms. The term whole language has nothing to do with teaching the whole child. Rather, it is an instructional approach to teaching reading that focuses on the overall meaning of whole words. This conflicts with an understanding that words contain component sounds that comprise words. Children are often not aware of individual sounds in words, or that letter-sound associations are used to construct words. According to current scientific understanding, the phonetic approach is absolutely necessary for some individuals to learn to read. Most children benefit from being taught basic phonetic decoding principles, and many learn to read fluently from the combination of fundamental phonics and what might be called whole language. Without some phonemic awareness, the reader has no way to decode words and must rely on memorization, basically treating all words as if they are sight words. The concern among literacy specialists is that in our current educational system, by the time it is evident that the, quote, whole language, unquote, approach is not working for a given child, they are far behind in their ability to read. When relying solely on the whole language approach, recognition of a reading problem and useful intervention is delayed to the point that the child is academically, socially, and emotionally scarred. A case can be made that to educate the whole child, this scarring is prevented through well-timed, well-considered, and well-delivered instruction. That said, we will consider the concept of whole to parts. Things are by nature whole. Starting with this as the foundation, we develop flexibility of thinking and non-fragmentary understanding of concepts. This may seem obvious, but in a world that deifies science, adults are rarely aware of how much time we spend in abstract concepts and abstract thought. We may think we know flowers are made up of atoms. This lack of awareness can be very damaging for children who are introduced to this fractionated way of, quote, knowing things before they know the thing itself. This is one of the aspects of the current worldview that is remedied by a multidisciplinary approach to education and through immersive outdoor experience. Sleep on it and memory consolidation. This is from the website, thewaldorflibrary.org. It's article 1352, Sleep as a Task of Waldorf Education. Instruction that is education for proper sleep. In 3 different instances, Rudolf Steiner described how we could teach the curriculum so that it could further work in sleep in the correct way. If we lead children to a creative activity, such as form drawing, for example, it is necessary to evoke an image of an inner nature. For instance, inner activity should receive an impulse that creates a sense for symmetry. Children should be able to form the logical completion from out of their own being. The active impulse to complete incomplete forms stimulates the formative forces in the body to continue working during sleep. Through this, a child has the tendency to finish what was begun, so that a permanent ability will be gained from the practiced activity. If the physical and etheric bodies are activated by outer activity, perhaps through eurythmy, then the two higher bodies, the astral and the I, have the tendency to resist this activity because it does not suit their own impulse at first. Nevertheless, the movements are impressed upon these higher bodies, and they carry the memory of them into the spiritual world during sleep. There are activities of the day that can be attuned to and harmonized with spiritual experiences. Only through this cooperation can the eurythmy activity of the previous day unfold its health-giving force. In the first instance, it has to do with leading the formative activity of the children into the sphere of creative thought of the spiritual hierarchies. The second example indicates another way. Outer activity of the physical and etheric bodies, eurythmy is just one of many examples, must be in harmony with the laws of cosmic forms of movement and rhythm. That is how the forces that are transformed during sleep can also radiate into the activity of the following day. The sleep between observation and understanding. If children are not stimulated into physical activity during a school lesson, then there is a third process to consider. Through teaching about a natural science experiment or a historical event, the deliberate understanding perception of children must be stimulated. In that they direct their attention to the lesson content, they are constantly coming to conclusions. In other words, the children do not just take in a stream of words or behaviors, but rather they recognize patterns and forms and organize sequences of action and units of speech together into something that makes sense. It is best when the presented events